Hello and welcome to the John Ark Show. Today's episode is called How Real is the Money Laundering Depicted in the Netflix TV Show Ozark? The reason we're doing this episode is because people are asking, how real is the money laundering being depicted in the Netflix TV show Ozark? And is it authentic? Is what they're doing actually being done by real criminals? So we looked into it, and you won't believe what we found. Before we begin, I want to encourage you to subscribe, like, comment, and follow us. I also want to tell you that the show is sponsored by Hollywood is Calling. It's a company that allows you to purchase live calls from real celebrities. It's got more than 100 celebrities to choose from. So, whether you want to purchase a live call for yourself for $19.95 or buy a gift call for somebody you care about, HollywoodIsCalling.com is a great way to do just that. Now, let's get started. First, let's begin with the definition of money laundering. Money laundering involves taking the proceeds from illegal enterprises like drug dealing or theft and running them through a legal enterprise in a way that allows you to re-enter that money into the banking system in a way that appears to be legitimate. So we see how the family on Ozark does it, but how do criminals do it in real life? Well, we did some research, and here's what we found. One technique is called the establishment of shell companies. Shell companies are completely fake and exist only on paper. They're usually located in tax havens like the Bahamas, Panama, Guernsey, and the Isle of Man. And if you go to some of these places and you try and find these shell companies, you'll find that they usually only exist in P.O. boxes. In fact, you'll find countless P.O. box companies at these various locations. Another place they are commonly found to exist is simply in the file folders of attorneys' firms. You'll have lots of attorneys and lots of firms in these tax havens, and they'll have file cabinet after file cabinet of file folders containing the documents for various tax shelters and shell companies. And the purpose of these shell companies is not to produce a product or a service. 9 times out of 10, they exist solely as legal entities, allowing you to move money from one location to another and to obscure the ownership of the actual asset or funds. Another money laundering mechanism that we found to be very common is the purchase of skyscrapers and office towers. Experts in law enforcement believe that most of the skyscrapers and office towers that you see in Miami, buildings that were built in the 80s, were probably built with cocaine money. And the reason for that is that when you're moving extraordinarily large sums of money, as cocaine cartels did and probably still do, then you need a legal mechanism that is capable of legitimately appearing to have a need to move such large quantities of money. We're talking about hundreds of millions and billions of dollars. And skyscrapers, building skyscrapers or office towers, that is often a 2 or 3 year project with very substantial cash flows. And that provides you with the cover you need to pump drug money right through it. Another money laundering mechanism is the purchase and sale of yachts. That's right, yachts. Who would have thought, right? Have you ever wondered why so many drug dealers and arms dealers and shady characters love to purchase enormous yachts, especially when everybody knows that yachts are a terrible investment? Well, most experts believe that yachts provide a great asset that you can constantly move from location to location. You can change their names and registrations on a regular basis, which once again is designed to obscure actual ownership. And when things really get tough, you can use that yacht to get you to a non-extradition country like Brazil, for example. The next money laundering mechanism that we found to be growing in popularity is the acquisition of very expensive art. Have you ever wondered why so many of the super rich love to purchase obscenely priced art? Well, if you ask them, and we have, they'll tell you that it's usually because art appreciates so much more quickly and significantly than other asset classes. And that may be a legitimate reason, but there are also other reasons to buy insanely expensive art. One of those reasons is that art and artwork is a great mechanism to move wealth around the world outside of the banking system. You can move $100 million Picasso across the globe, and no one in the banking system can be the wiser. The next laundering mechanism are check cashing and currency exchange booths. You may have noticed if you've traveled around the world recently, is that you may have seen an explosion in the number of check cashing booths and currency exchange booths in Mexico, Central America, South America. They're at every tourist destination and on every corner. You ever wonder why that is? Well, there have been numerous reports and documentaries about how the cartel is moving such a vast quantity of cash, a quantity of cash that is physically so large now that they needed another mechanism to get it into the legal banking system. So what they did was they started acquiring these check cashing and currency exchange businesses, because that allows them to do, each of these locations, they can do hundreds of transactions with tourists every day, and that produces a mountain of cash. And then they add that legitimate cash to their illegitimate cash, and then it enters their bank accounts and creates the impression that that this is all legitimate. Now, here's one that surprised us. The next money laundering mechanism, the country of Canada. Why is that? Well, experts say that in 2018, more than $8 billion in drug money was laundered through British Columbia, Canada, and Ontario, by the way. In fact, so much drug money was used to purchase real estate in British Columbia and Ontario that they literally drove up the price of real estate to a point where it is almost beyond the reach of the non-drug dealers. People who want to buy it can't afford it unless they're involved in something shady. The criminals would buy restaurants, they would buy other cash businesses, and then they would combine the proceeds from those businesses with the real estate that they were buying in, on the east and west side of Canada, and they would launder that money right into the banking system. A lot of the drug money flowing into Canada for these real estate deals was flowing from tax havens like the Seychelles and the British Virgin Islands, and it would just all disappear into the drug pipeline. Another reason that Canada was so attractive to drug dealers and money launderers was that Canada would allow you to effectively obscure the ownership of assets. Now, that's changed recently, but for a long time, Canada, like other tax havens, would allow you to obscure actual ownership. Now, the next money laundering mechanism is probably one that you and millions of other people have also used, and those are the online marketplaces. Do you have an old bike or an old sofa that you wanted to sell? Go online, advertise it for a while, and lo and behold, you usually sell it. So drug dealers and organized crime groups have figured out that these marketplaces serve as excellent mechanisms to launder money. So have you ever wondered why there are so many iPads and laptops and computers and smart TVs being sold on these online marketplaces for 20 or 25 cents on the dollar? Well, it's because they're laundering money, and a lot of the products that they're also selling have been stolen. So any money they get is profit. The next mechanism is gift cards and prepaid cash cards. Now, most people don't realize, but gift cards and prepaid cash cards, that is a $200 billion a year business. Do you ever wonder why so many people buy gift cards and prepaid cash cards. Experts say it's because criminals have found out how to launder oceans of money using these cards. What they do is they alter the codes, conceal the purchase information, and then the laundering begins. Now, the next one may be the mother of all laundering mechanisms. It's Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin may be one of the all-time favorite laundering mechanism. According to the Drug Enforcement Administration, Chinese manufacturers were avoiding capital controls by using Bitcoin and other cryptocurrency. The Department of Justice says that the increasing use of Bitcoin brokers to transfer millions of dollars across borders is contributing to the money laundering problem. Now, the next one is something that has been referenced in Ozark itself, and that is casinos. On any given day in Las Vegas, you'll see a number of people walking into the casino with $8,000 or $9,000 in cash, always below the limit of $10,000, which requires the casino to report. And they'll walk in with $8,000 or $9,000, buy some chips. They'll go to one of the blackjack tables, and they'll spend a few $100s, lose the money, and then a little while later they will go back to the cash out window and exchange their chips for cash. And of course, the cash they walk out with is newly laundered money, and that's a great way to cover all those sins. The next one is ATM surfing. Now, if you use an ATM in major cities with any regularity at all, you'll notice this from time to time. You walk up to an ATM and you'll see a number of people in line waiting to use the ATM. And the reason it's taking so long, it's because the guy at the front of the line has 20 or 30 ATM cards. And he's inserting one card after another and withdrawing, the cash maximum from each card. So what's happening is that the organized crime groups, they're buying stolen credit card information online, and then each night they'll take that information, download it, and they'll use it, and they'll print that information on blank ATM cards. They'll then send an army of people out the following morning, usually 8 or 9 at the latest. They'll have anywhere from 50 to 200 people fan out throughout a city. And each of these people will have anywhere from 50 to 100 ATM cards with illegal accounts on them. And they'll start withdrawing money. And they'll do this for the next 3 or 4 hours. Usually they stop around noon. And the reason is it takes half a day or so for the bank computers to realize what's going on and to begin responding. So by that time, these organized crime groups, they can withdraw anywhere from $5 to $10 million from all the ATMs throughout the city and disappear. And by the way, if you're wondering about the cameras that most of these ATMs use to stare at the customer who's withdrawing the money, then now you'll understand why a lot of these guys wear baseball caps, sunglasses, beards, mustaches, fake weird looking noses. So that's just another mechanism to obscure what's really going on and to hide their identities. Well, there you have it. Well, now maybe people will understand why the family in the TV show Ozark is having such a difficult time. While the money launderers are getting more sophisticated, the authorities and the banks are also employing more sophisticated techniques to catch them. Who would have thought that having too much cash would have created so many problems? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.